Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Madison View. My name is Ralph Scott. Uh, I read today that there's some kind of conference, I think it was called like Turning Point or something like that. It was being held at Donald Trump's Doral golf course. And there was some preacher back there that was quoting, there at that event that was preaching and said that that Americans needed to take over basically violently the country to get, if they need to get Donald Trump back to being president. And this just goes back to what I'm saying before. I mean, he went to the Bible and was taking verses and flipping them around to mean things that they shouldn't have meant, but that's what he was doing. But that's just neither hither nor thither, in my opinion, because I mean, basically Christianity, by the way most people understand it, is a pacifist faith. And then all of a sudden now these right-wing Christians have become basically just no different than radical Muslims. I mean, there is no difference whatsoever, in my opinion. I thought we had a terrorist attack in this country, and many years ago at 9/11, and everybody kind of figured out that being a religious zealot wasn't the way to go. I mean, it killed thousands of people, but it seems awful funny that the people went over there who proclaimed their faith was better and went over and fought these people are now coming back and adopting the same practices. It's mind-blowing in a way, but in one way it's not. It just shows me that, just like I've told you, and a lot of people just, I think they even fail to grasp that, the old parable or fable, I forget what it's called right off the top of my head, of Chicken Little, the sky is falling, their point of view is so ingrained that they think that they're the only person that can see what's going on. In other words, their perception of reality is altered so much that the only reality they choose to see is their own, and they think there's no other reality that can exist. And here's the thing that really gets me is there's quite a few churches now that are starting to protest Donald Trump even being around. They don't want him at different venues and all this kind of stuff. I mean, this is not an uncommon thing, that I see. I think everybody's starting to see it as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a right-wing view of something, but when it becomes violent, that is, you're no better than a thug. I mean, you hold up the Bible, but in my opinion, you're nowhere near being the Bible. It was bad enough with the Joe Osteens, in my opinion, about send them all this money so they could buy all this stuff so you would have money too, kind of thing going on. I wasn't much fan of that, but hey, the way I read my Bible, Jesus was modest. I mean, he didn't seek wealth. People fed him as he went around, and you see the right-wing Christian about saying you teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. If you give him fish, you feed him for a day. Well, that's what Jesus did. He just reached in the basket and started breaking fish and fed everybody for the day. He didn't have any plans for tomorrow. So it's just amazing how these people can take a supposed pacifist faith and turn it into I don't know, just violent. I mean, it's violent. I was reading an article today about the past. I forget what it was called. The thing that where the one guy said he wasn't going to ride in a tube of demons is the reason why he bought a private jet. And you should have seen his eyes when a reporter confronted him about it. I mean, they lit up like he was getting ready to come across that car and attack her. So I can't remember. It was a word of abundance or something. I don't remember exactly, but again, I wasn't much a fan of that. I mean, because like I said, Jesus, in my opinion, was a modest man from the way I read the Bible. He didn't seek wealth. He didn't seek leadership. I mean, I'm not saying anything wrong with seeking wealth or anything like that right there, but I'm talking about a man of God shouldn't, that's where I kind of think the Roman Catholics had that right, or Catholics, whatever they're called nowadays, where you're supposed to kind of really relinquish your worldly goods. But anyway, that's religion, I mean, everybody's got their different religious point of views. But when it crosses the line of violence now, that's just not acceptable. And if anybody accepts that into a religious point of view, then you're reading the wrong Bible I'm reading. So, but anyway, let me go into one of the things about which is, the more and more I read about abortion, which is what's really baffling me. A lot of these pro-life people are women, and this really just baffles me. I mean, I don't understand for the life of me how these women could be so, because supposedly the way everyone says about women is, when they got a problem, they get on the phone call, they get on the phone, they talk to everybody, every woman in the neighborhood or every woman they know or in the county if they can. So, I mean, when a story like this comes up that I'm fixing to tell you about, and I read it, it just baffles me. Okay. A woman was tested for a Senate panel in Texas, the state Senate, that is. And she couldn't get an abortion. Her fetus was diagnosed unviable after the 20th week. So the fetus had a heartbeat, and she couldn't get an abortion because the fetus had a heartbeat. Well, the doctor told her it was missing its skull, and there was something wrong with the heart or the kidneys or the bowel or something. Basically, it would come out alive, but that's it. It would die very shortly thereafter. So, needless to say, the woman carrying this baby was a very traumatic event. I mean, waking up every day knowing that the baby was just going to die and be born, when it was born. So she's got how many weeks after 20 weeks? 9 months, right? 9 months. Times 4? So she took out the 16 weeks, to carry the baby, I'm sure it was very traumatic. I mean, the way I understand it, I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything, but the way I understand it, if you have a problem with pregnancy, if the fetus is unviable, it could die inside that woman. It could cause septic, I think, some kind of other problems that, I don't understand. I'm not a doctor. But, there's something with the wound or something like that, the way I understand it from what I'm reading. An unviable pregnancy is not a good idea to be carrying around full term. But like I said, she was denied an abortion, and she was tested for the Senate panel, and she threw up. That's how traumatic it was for her. I mean, could you imagine this? I mean, I was thinking about it for just a minute, how cold and cruel this is. That's the reason why I can't understand why a woman would put another woman through this, because they know this can happen. So it just baffles me why someone would do that. It's beyond my comprehension of empathy. It just baffles me. And you say you're a Christian because 90% of these pro-life people are supposedly Christians. I mean, can you imagine this? You find out you're pregnant. A couple finds out they're pregnant. This woman found out she was pregnant. It's a happy day. You think, all right, I'm going to fight last to have a baby, because you would be trying to get pregnant if you didn't want a baby, unlike what most abortion people think. I figured 90% of all pregnancies, if not 95% of all pregnancies, are intentional. I mean, and then you go through 12 weeks and you think, oh, right, this is it. Because a lot of times that first 3 months, things are pretty dicey. You go through 12 weeks and you go, right. And then the fourth week, which is the 16th week, you start buying clothes possibly or something like that right there. You start getting the room ready, thinking about what you're going to do, all that kind of stuff. And then you go in on the 20th week and find out that the pregnancy isn't even viable. I mean, that would just be like heart crushing, and just like, oh my God, the world just fell apart, kind of thing, and then having to carry the baby like that would be, I don't know, just in my opinion, in my mind, this is mind-numbingly cruel. And and from what I've read, that if Donald Trump gets elected president again, he wants to outlaw abortion federally. And again, this is the party that advertises that they're, the party of freedom, and they protect your freedoms. Well, that's right there. It's just that one story in itself, to me, is just mind blowing. How someone could sit there and say they're for freedom, and you're making a woman, basically, you basically have no comprehension of how it's affecting. Carry a child that can't even live, that's just, to me, that's just extremely cruel. I can't even fathom it. It's just heartbreakingly cruel. In my opinion, it's evil, and you don't see it, but it's evil. You think you're protecting something, but you're not. You're no different than the violent religious guy. I mean, it's evil. I mean, you can call it as you wish. That's what everyone said. They saw the devil rising out of the smoke of the Twin Towers when the radical religious people kill people. So that's basically what you're doing right there. I mean, you're subjecting some people to death over pregnancy. Yeah. So I mean, just I don't know. My mind just can't comprehend that. Like I said, those kind of rights, the gay, the transgender, and all that stuff. I mean, that should be voted on nationally by each individual, because that's individual rights. It doesn't even belong in Trump's hands or a preacher's hands. I just to me, it's just disgusting to even think that. I can't even comprehend it, because a lot of people. There's this one Ann Coulter said that her idea to solve the abortion problem is to ban abortion for religious people. Well, if abortion is legal, religious people don't have to get an abortion. So what's the big deal? I mean, so you're going to write up a law for if you're religious when throw you in jail, which is basically, in my opinion, asinine. That's the stage of absurdity that I thought was that's supposed to solve a problem. Okay. And just like there's a new beer brand out there after they've done that transgender guy for Bud Light called Right Beer or something like that, Right Wing Beer for the conservative dad. Supposedly they sold like 20,000 six packs in a month. It's probably going to be like those right wing banks they started out in Texas where you could pack a gun in a bank, which don't make no fucking sense. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever, pardon me. Because most people who pack a gun in a bank's going to rob you, right? Well, they said that they opened up the banks and got all the funding, and within 3 months they went broke. there wasn't nobody going to put their money in banks like that. You're going to be intimidated. You don't know who's going to rob you when you're in there. So I mean, to me that just didn't make no sense, and that's about half of what the right wing does. But that's all I like to say. Good night.